Hi, I'm Hub Arkush for Pro Football Weekly, here with our preview of the Sunday night game of the week for Week 14 of the 2012 NFL season. It's the Green Bay Packers hosting the Detroit Lions. Executive editor Dan Arkush covers the Green Bay Packers for us, and senior editor Mike Wilkening has the Lions. And you know, Wilkie, a lot of people wondering the Lions not only primetime this Sunday night, but a week from Saturday night again at home against the Atlanta Falcons, and yet they appear to be done. Will the Lions show up? Why didn't the NFL flex out of this game with where the Lions are at right now?
Well, obviously Green Bay, a national brand team, a team in contention, so you can understand why you'd want to keep the Packers in primetime. But I would agree, Hub, that the operative question on Sunday night is what Lions team shows up at this point. They have been so close the last 3 weeks against three very good teams, including one close loss to Green Bay.
Now, Dan, the Packers were on 2 weeks ago on Sunday night and did not show up in New York, quite frankly. They bounced back a little bit better against the Minnesota Vikings, although the run defense is certainly, not all that great. But Aaron Rodgers appears to have them under control, and they're starting to get a little healthier. How close are they to where they want to be going in the playoffs?
Well, one late-breaking development, Hub, it appears that James Starks might be done with a knee injury. They've re-signed Ryan Grant, and this is kind of a bad thing for the Packers because the run game really has been kind of coming on. That said, they seem to have Detroit's number, especially at home. I believe they've won the last 20 games at Lambeau. That's a pretty impressive statistic, to say the least. They've also won their last 10 games against NFC North opponents, so I think the Packers have a pretty good shot here.
Yeah, 20 straight certainly qualifies as having the Lions number. The question is, who in Detroit, Marty Mayhew, Jim Schwartz, has the Lions number? On Thanksgiving Day, the head coach had a bit of an emotional outburst that may have cost him a game. Titus Young has now been sent home for the season on injured reserve. Whether that's a real injury or not is curious. And then Ndamukong Suh is in the news every week. Mike, the things that have plagued this team from day one, actually the end of last season, don't seem to have gotten any better.
Well, I think that the things that you described, Hub, become issues when you don't win. I think if you win, these are things that are just sort of set aside, that aren't sort of the main entree. As it stands right now, you have a Detroit Lions team that's 4-8, and it's very disappointing. So you start to wonder about the comportment of this team, the emotions of this team. Do they get in the way? I think, generally speaking, guys, the big problem with this team is that defensively they just haven't got enough key stops down the stretch. They've come up short in a few close games. They've been their own worst enemy at various times. They're a few breaks from being a much better than 4-8 team and a much different sort of set of discussions we'd be having right now. But that's life. That's the sort of the reality here with this team at 4-8 is we're going to look at the big picture with the Detroit Lions, basically looking ahead to 2013.
Dan, I think the biggest question about the Green Bay Packers, injuries, two running backs, injuries all over the football team. Are they getting healthier, and what will they do about that offensive line that has really struggled?
Well, one good thing that's going to be happening, I believe Charles Woodson is about a week away from coming back. That's going to help down the stretch. He won't be ready for this game, Hub. Now, as far as the offensive line goes, that's been a problem for them. They had to make a change with Brian Bulaga going down, a fine young right tackle. It affected two different positions, and what they've had to do is they've had to change the offense. They've had to keep more guys more backs and tight ends blocking, and going to more of a conservative type offense. They can't spread the field as much. That's why this whole ground game thing is so important.
All right, guys, prediction time. I will be on the sidelines for the national radio for Dial Global, so not making a pick on this game. But Wilkie, I'll come to you first. Lions or Packers?
When these teams met a few weeks ago, I think the Lions played one of their better games this season. They had the game basically won, couldn't close it out. And I think it was the beginning, sort of the end for this team down the stretch. I think, if anything, the Packers get better and the Lions regress in this matchup. I think Green Bay wins. They may roll in this one.
Dan, how about you?
I agree with Wilkie. I just can't see Detroit at this point, putting up much of a battle. Matthew Stafford had a bad game against them last time. I think he'll be better, but I just think that especially their pass defense is a mess. So I like Green Bay.
All right, that is our preview of the Sunday night game of the week for Week 14. For all the best in news, notes, analysis, preview, and review, be sure you stay at ProFootballWeekly.com 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.